Dumped my cheating GF of 3 years. Now she thinks I have to keep watching her kid cause I'm the only father figure he knows. When I told her no, this happened. I, male 35, was dating Elena, female 33, for 2 years when I found out she was cheating on me with one of the dads from her son's hockey practice. Elena has a 9-year-old son. After finding out, I broke up with her and asked her to move out. Eventually, she moved out. A week later, she showed up at my door asking if I could watch her son because she couldn't find anyone else. I thought it was a one-time thing, so I agreed. We played video games, and I cooked him dinner. Then she texted me, thanking me and saying her son missed me so much and that it was great for him to hang out. Now, she keeps dropping him off. Last time, I told her I couldn't be her babysitter. I want a clean break and a fresh start. She called me heartless and mean, saying I'm the only dad her son knows. He never called me dad, nor did I expect him to. She keeps guilt-tripping me, accusing me of abandoning her child and punishing him because I'm a petty sad man. Am I the a-hole here? Is it wrong to ghost her and her kid? Added to add, thanks with her affair, partner didn't work out because he was married and his wife found out. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. You gonna babysit forever while she is getting buckshot in her net? She says my relationship with her kid should be different. I was his father figure, so it shouldn't be affected by my resentment toward her. Not the a-hole. The only thing tying you to this kid is his mother who cheated on you. Why are you letting her do this to you? You don't owe her or her kid anything. You're a father figure after 2 years? Come on. She's using you and guilting you about it. Guilt only works if you let it. And her kid aren't your problem. Let the guy she cheated on you with watch her kid. Not the a-hole. It was a 2-year relationship, and her son is 9. So you're probably not a paternal figure, but more like a cool grown-up friend. She cheated on you. She's seeing the consequences of her actions. She's the one punishing her son, not you. How do you know that every time she dropped her son off at your place, it wasn't to spend time with a man? I honestly never saw myself as a father figure either. They moved in with me 6 months before the breakup. I took her son to his appointments and events a few times. Maybe that's why she got the idea. I have the feeling she used you from the beginning. You don't have to be part of her son's life. If you were together for 8 years, okay, you might be his paternal figure. But in this situation, it's just an excuse for her to use you. In what universe would you be the a-hole? She says, I'm abandoning her kid. I'm punishing her kid because we broke up. I'm petty for not wanting to be the father figure because her kid's bio-dad is unknown. She really gets around, doesn't she? She cheated on you, and she doesn't even know the father of her kid. What an absolute piece of work. I don't know about that. She said her dad was some guy she met in a bar one night when she was younger. She said she didn't like talking about her past. Now for the update. I texted her and said, I'm done with you. I can't watch your kid anymore. Bye forever. And then I blocked her. An hour later, I started getting messages from people asking, why don't you leave this woman alone? You stalker creep. I was shocked. What the hell? Apparently, she told everyone that I'm stalking her, begging her to get back together and using her kid to get close to her. I responded to anyone messaging me by sending them a screenshot of my actual text. I'm done justifying myself. This woman is insane. What was I thinking? Trying to get back into the dating scene after my wife's tragic passing? For 6 years, I was single, and life was peaceful. I'm gonna contact my therapist again. I need him more than ever now after this disastrous experience. Not the a-hole. Your ex is a total drama queen. Good for you for blocking her and setting boundaries. Don't let her mess with your head. She is manipulative and toxic, twisting the narrative to make herself look like the victim. Make a public post and set the record straight. This could do more damage if you remain silent. And if anyone contacts you, just reply with screenshots. Her making up lies about Opie is a red flag the size of a skyscraper. Cut her off, but keep the screenshots in case things escalate more. Next story. Am I the a-hole for walking out of my dad's birthday dinner after being ambushed by my stepmom? I, 25 female, have always had a complicated relationship with my dad and his wife, my stepmom. My parents divorced when I was 8, and my dad remarried shortly after. His new wife brought 2 kids into the marriage, and they later had 2 more together. So I have 4 half-siblings and 2 step-siblings, all younger than me. Growing up, I always felt like the odd one out. My dad's focus was on his new family, and while I was never outright excluded, I always felt like an afterthought. My mom raised me, and I visited my dad every other weekend. But as I got older, the visits became less frequent. I've made an effort to keep the peace over the years for the sake of my dad. I visit for holidays, attend family events, and try to bond with my half-siblings. But my stepmom and I have never really gotten along. She's always criticizing me, my career, my clothes, even my decision to stay single for now. My dad usually stays out of it, saying he doesn't want to take sides. Last week was my dad's 15th birthday, and my stepmom organized a big dinner at a fancy restaurant. I showed up with a gift and was genuinely excited to celebrate him. Things were fine until dessert. That's when my stepmom stood up and said, "Since we're all here, it's the perfect time to address some issues as a family." I immediately felt uneasy. She launched into a speech about how I've been distant and don't do enough to blend into the family. She brought up things like how I don't call her on Mother's Day or babysit my half-siblings when they need help. She even mentioned that I missed a family barbecue last month, which I had already explained was due to work. Then my dad chimed in. He said he agreed with her and that it was time for me to make more of an effort to be part of the family. He added that I should apologize to my stepmom for being cold toward her. I was stunned. This wasn't a birthday dinner. It was an ambush. I asked if anyone else felt this way, and my stepmom's parents, who were also there, chimed in, saying they'd always thought I was too independent and didn't value family enough. At that point, I had enough. I stood up and said, "If this is what you invited me here for, I'm leaving." My dad tried to stop me saying I was being dramatic, but I walked out. I went home, turned off my phone, and cried. Since then, my stepmom has been blowing up my phone, calling me selfish and ungrateful. My dad texted me saying he was disappointed in how I handled things and that I should have stayed to talk it out. Even my mom, who I told about the situation, said I could have stayed to keep the peace. I feel like I was ambushed and humiliated in front of everyone. Am I the a-hole from walking out instead of staying and addressing the issues? First things first, you're not the a-hole. Go ahead and block your stepmom. You don't have to watch your younger siblings no matter the reason, whether it's work-related or not. What her parents think shouldn't matter, nor does the fact that you don't call her on Mother's Day. What I've learned about the whole keep the peace idea is that it usually means you need to be a doormat for others while putting your peace to the side. Exactly. EAP is not a free babysitter and definitely doesn't owe her stepmom anything. They ambushed OP. Like, who even does that at a birthday dinner? It was all about her. You don't call me on Mother's Day. You don't babysit my kids for me, and at a birthday dinner in a fancy restaurant, no less. That should pretty much seal the deal and where this relationship is going. Sorry, OB? Not the a-hole. This was, what, 6 or 7 people against one? How is that supposed to be any sort of conversation where your side would be heard? It seems more like an intervention where your feelings are disregarded. There was no point in staying. The outcome was already predetermined. Talk to your dad and set boundaries for the relationship you want with him. If he isn't agreeable, then go no contact. By the way, few people acknowledge how emotionally costly it is to keep the peace. It's almost always a one-sided investment with little to no return. Handy aggressor is never asked to keep the peace. They always ask the quieter person to appease the bully. No one ever tells the loud one to stand down. No, that sounds absolutely horrifying, traumatic, and humiliating. I'm so sorry they did that to you. It was a completely inappropriate way to address their feelings. I really hope you have access to mental health care and can talk to a counselor or a therapist to help you through this. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my fiancé to cut 200 people from his guest list? I, 31 female, and my fiancé, 32 male, recently got engaged. We have started making our guest list as part of our wedding planning. My fiancé is a very social guy. He's been in the restaurant industry for 10+ years and has made a lot of friends and business connections. On the other hand, you have me. I have a very small but close group of friends. I get overstimulated easily and have to prepare for big group interactions, and I usually can only last a few hours before I need to wander off and recharge a little. We made our first pass at the guest list. I have about 45 to 50 people on my list. This includes mutual friends and their plus ones. These are the people I can't see this day happening without. He made his list and has close to 400 people on it. This includes people he's met through business and wants to essentially shake hands and kiss babies with. I forgot to mention he is opening his own business soon. He said he will take another pass at the list and cut it down so we have 400 in total. The thought of this makes me physically ill. I want to be supportive and invites everyone he views as important to him, but there are a significant number of people on the list whom I have never even met. Some I haven't even heard of before seeing this list. For context, we've been together for 2.5 years. I also saw the names. And when I asked him who they were, he said, "Well, I was invited to their wedding 3+ years ago." Some people he only exchanges happy birthday with every year, and he says they need to be at the wedding. Again, I want to be supportive, but I have a hard time justifying paying $250+ per person for people I have never met and whom he only says happy birthday to. I've tried explaining this to him, but I know we are both passionate people, and sometimes, I have a hard time expressing how things make me feel. I don't want to sound like I don't care about his friends, but to me, some of his reasons for inviting people just seem childish or irrelevant. Ideally, I would like a wedding with 150 people. He wants closer to 500. I think I could handle 250 without having a full panic attack or meltdown. I don't want to sound like a diva, but the thought of being around 200 plus people I've never met and being the center of attention makes me want to crawl into a corner and hide. The last time I brought it up, he got really defensive and said I was making him feel like I don't care about the people who are important to him. I don't think that's the case, but am I the a-hole for wanting him to cut down from 400 people to 200? Now for the comments. Was the $250 per person a typo? That is way too much unless you come from royalty. Not the a-hole. He should understand that a wedding of that size will overwhelm you. Info. I married off my daughter 16 years ago. The cost was, if I remember correctly, $40 per plate, $1,000 for the rental of the hall, a country club, and she wanted a fancy cake, but if I recall correctly it was $400. We had 150 to 200 people plus the bar tab. This was in southern Wisconsin, a medium-sized city. With the cost of food, bar, staff, venue, and rental equipment in today's market, $250 is about average per plate. The bigger the guest count, the more expensive the venue due to the size and number of rooms needed to rent. Let him know that all these people he rarely sees are going to see this invite as gift grab and be turned off by it. Who is he trying to impress? Not the a-hole. He's treating your wedding as a network opportunity. To him, it's a soft launch for his business with no regard for your feelings. I would be surprised if even half of the guests show up. I wouldn't attend someone's wedding if I hadn't seen them in 3 years. Same. I wouldn't go to a wedding where I don't know anyone or hardly know anyone. I don't like sitting through the ceremony and the dragged-out speeches, let alone covering the cost of presents/monetary gifts, hotel, travel, etc. Last story, Amaria Hall for calling my sister ungrateful after she said I didn't do enough for her daughter. I, 38 female, and my sister, 37 female, have 3 kids, 10 male, 10 female, and 5 male. Her 10-year-old twins are in 5th grade. Her son, Rose, and her daughter, Lydia, are both going to middle school next year. My sister wanted them to attend a private middle school about 30 minutes away from us. It's a selective school, and incoming students need to take a test to be admitted. Rhodes and Lydia took the test a few weeks ago and just got their results back. Rhodes and Lydia have always had a massive academic achievement gap. I'm a teacher and haven't seen a gap this wide between siblings in my career. Rhodes can read, write, and do math several grades above the 5th grade level. My sister asked me to tutor both Rhodes and Lydia when they started kindergarten, and I've tutored them for free since then. Rhodes has always been naturally intelligent. School comes easy to him, and it puts in far less efforts than Lydia or even most kids. I've had to bribe him with candy to do homework he can't complete in 5 minutes because he'd rather be shooting hoops with his friends. Basketball is another thing that just comes naturally to him. Lydia, on the other hand, does not play sports. Lydia is several grades behind where she's supposed to be. My sister has had her and Rose tested for ADHD, autism, and other conditions, but nothing has come up positive. For some reason, no matter how hard Lydia tries, she struggles. She struggles with basic arithmetic and reading. To make matters worse, we can't force children to be held back, and my sister has refused to hold Lydia back even though it's been recommended multiple times over the years. To give you an example of how stark the difference between the two kids is, for their reading logs, Rhodes is reading a nearly 500-page book on the history of college sports and seemed to understand it well. Lydia, meanwhile, reads picture books meant for kindergarten and 1st grade. None of my colleagues at work have seen anything like this, such a stark difference between siblings, especially twins, even if they are fraternal. No surprise here. Rhodes got into the middle school, but Lydia did not. My sister got angry at me when she found out, saying I didn't do enough for Lydia. I told her she was ungrateful and blamed her for passing Lydia on when she wasn't ready. She said I should have faith in Lydia and not agreed with teachers who have a vendetta against her that she should be held back. I told her that Rhodes is just naturally smarter and that she needs to accept it. She got mad at me and is now not answering my texts. Am I the asshole? The tests don't lie. There's no reason why they can't go to different schools. You want to challenge Rhodes and allow him to excel, and you want to ensure Lydia has all the support she needs to do well. Since you were tutoring both of them, I'm just wondering how much farther behind Lydia would be if you hadn't been tutoring her. Absolutely. I can't help but wonder if all Lydia hears from her mother is how smart Rhodes is and how dumb she is. The best thing for Lydia would be to hold her back a grade before she gets to middle school. My sister wanted to hold my niece back a year in grade school, but the school refused. She happened to move to a different school system that summer, and when she enrolled my niece, she put her in the same grade she has just completed. That made a world of difference for her. Oh, I assume that Lydia has been checked for dyslexia and other reading disorders, had her eyes examined, etc. I feel bad for Lydia having to compete in her mother's eyes with her much smarter brother. I hope things can turn around for her, not the a-hole. Honestly, it sounds like the mom is blaming teachers and her sister for her daughter not being successful in school.